Urdizzle back again, and I decided to mix things up a little bit. I had been looking for different ways to change up the content a little bit from the daily tournaments. And so I'd been having some issues with crashes on the 926 update, and I was able to get all the 100s off of my last 25. So I decided to tackle the Pro Tour, which I had not done in 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, that sounds about right. And so this is actually a video that will have all 4 of my Pro Tour rounds, and my lineup for all 4 rounds is the same lineup I use for all my multiplayer. I've got the Fuse River Musket, all accurate windbreak. I've got the Glide Wind Recoil, which is a nice bridge to my drivers, and then of course my 2 ballistas, the Light Glide and the Light Skip. All right, so hole 1, round 1, we start off on Lakeside, and this, I've been ace running this lately, but I had not been hitting it a lot with the river, and I've actually been going OB or into the trees where I had to take a par. So I've kind of adjusted on that hole where I just kind of throw a high stall shot and let it come down and just get the birdie and get out. It's one of those things where you just have to weigh the strokes you gain versus the strokes you lose. So hole 2, also throwing the river, and a lot of people throw Explorer. So this one I'm kind of lining up for the ace run, hoping to hit it. And I've had mixed luck here, so I was able to hit the ace on this one. I've skipped OB off the top, off the basket, slid under the log. It's just been kind of mixed results on that hole, but I was able to get. So that was a pretty good start. And then hole 3, and this is one where a lot of people will just chalk it up. They'll get the birdie and get out. My goal is to get my drive right around this 240-foot range and then run it with the river. So that's one thing you don't. When people include rivers or explorers in their bag, for me, it's not just about the tee shots. It's also about, and just missed that one. That would have been a good one to get. It's all about par 4s as well. Like, what are some shots that you may not predict off the tee that you may need to run? And so the river is just a perfect disc for that. And so I gave it a run. I missed it, but it didn't lead me too far. All right, hole 4, we're switching to windswept, so we're probably going to get some par 4s in here. This is hole 1 of windswept. That's, I don't want to say it's a gimme, but that's a pretty easy hole. So I'm just hoping for some reasonable wins on whatever holes come up, because windswept is not a super difficult course, but when those winds start spiking to 4 and 5, like this one's a 4 wind, but it's left to right. So same thing, I'll just kind of throw a stall shot. And I've actually hit an ace before going through those trees, but most of the time, as long as you don't get any weird kicks, it's just going to drop inside circle 1. So 24 feet, pretty easy. But yeah, you just kind of hope you don't get any 4 or 5 headwinds and stuff like that. So they're hitting me with all the par 3s, which I'm fine with. So this is also a river shot. And so pretty, again, I don't want to say there's no way to mess this up, because I think I played around, what was that? Yesterday or the day before, where I threw a shot like that and it skipped off the rock that's just to the left of the basket. And it left me 70, 80 feet, and I missed the comebacker. So as long as you can avoid that rock, you're pretty good. All right, sunshine. So I really, this is not like multiplayer where if you don't ace, you're behind, but you kind of need to get at least one of these par 3s, or definitely want to eagle the par 5. So that one I threw my forehand river, and be careful back here. This tree to the right, I know it looks kind of see-through, but I've had putts that have landed back there by that tree, and I just barely made that one, that have actually clipped those branches, the leaves, on a high putt. I mean, I thought it would have no effect, but it ended up getting me. And for whatever reason, this hole, I found a good aim spot where I aim low, so I pretty much take all the leaves out of play. It's just a matter of aiming through the gap, and some people go up over the top, just whatever your best chance is to get through there. And this is definitely one you have to eagle pretty much every time. Doesn't matter if it's a 2 headwind, 2 tailwind, left, right, you got to get it. Then hole 9 here. This one I used to throw a forehand river, but I've switched over to the Fuse. And the Fuse usually gives me a pretty good ace opportunity and doesn't leave me with much more than about 50 at most. And so that one kind of right out of the hand, I knew it was going to miss right. And you just never know. The wind has an effect, but just not a strong effect. So 46 feet, I'm okay with that one. So pretty good start. First round, I was able to get the ace early on, 11 under. I think the hot round was 12 under, but I'm okay with that as a start. I didn't You can't win a tournament on the first day, but you can definitely lose it. And you'll see by the leaderboard, so Turd Sandwich is up there at 11. So I actually didn't even start this tournament until the last day because I really had no intention of playing it. But once I was able to clear out those 100s, I thought I'd give it a whirl. All right, so we'll go right into round 2. Oak Hill. I throw my light glide, and that was perfect. Little turn to the right, and it faded out a little to the left. And again, for me, perfect is not hitting the pole. 61, okay, maybe that wasn't perfect. That was a little wide, but again, in those conditions, flat ground, a little wind help, I'll putt out to 60, 65 feet. So a little out of the range I wanted, but that wasn't too bad. And then the Mando hole. So the only time I miss this hole is when it slides down into these bushes. I actually had one yesterday in a multiplayer game where I was 12 feet out, but it was in the bush, and I didn't think it was going to hit the bush, but it did, and so that just kind of screwed me over, but was able to get it there. And this is the hole where I've got the light skip ballista, and it works, but if we had expanded bags to 9, I would probably use my glide skip. And so here, I just feel the light disc is much more erratic left to right. And so I left myself way down here, and I gave it a half run, but I was a little disappointed I did not get the eagle on that one. But if I had the glide skip, that would be a much higher probability of getting the eagle on that one. Hole 4, we're going to shift back to the Mando hole in Lakeside. And as I did first round, I'm just going to play the high stall shot and just let it fade back in and drop. Again, I can ace run that one, but I par it or bogey it more than I ace it. So it's not worth going for. And then hole 5 is one of the easiest holes in the game. If you've got a river, you just don't even change the up and down, slide it a little left to right. I mean, you're always going to be within 20 feet. Occasionally you'll skip if there's a tailwind, but that's pretty easy. So kind of boring couple holes to start. And this is also boring. And this one, I don't like to ace run. I did a daily video where I've got a couple ace run lines that I'll throw with a recoil. And it's not worth it because you might get up in those trees and the bushes on the hill. It's just, the probability of hitting that is it's not worth it. All right, so shifting over to harrowing. So this is not really a high scoring round. I've got the one eagle, but hole 7, the Stonehenge hole, I like to throw my recoil. And again, if you don't have a recoil, the glide wind recoil, I love it for this hole, the cave to cave, harrowing hole 1 it's good for. There's just so many holes that it's just fantastic for. All right, so now we get a scoring hole, and we've got the par 5 on harrowing, and I like to play the forehand line. It just seems to be more consistent, and that one kind of got away from me a little bit. So I'm on the edge here. This is not a good spot to be in, and you'd think I'd go up the middle, but what I like to do is take out my light glide ballista and go way around. So watch this. I'm going to put it on a huge hyzer, put it way up over the top. And what I like is the trees that are around the hole don't have collision on the leaves. So all you got to do is avoid, wow, what a skip. All you have to do is avoid the tree trunks. And so I was able to get that one, stop rolling, and got myself an eagle. And I'm 55 feet, so now I'm in putt range. Again, anything 60, roughly 60 in, I'm putting. So not the best drive, but I was able to salvage the eagle out of it. So pretty happy with that. And then hole 9, this is about as easy as it gets. My phone started acting a little weird here, so I had to pause. I've got a new phone, but I think it might be my connection here, but I've just had some weird stuff happening. No disconnects though so far with this phone. That's nice. I didn't say no glitches, but no connection disconnects. So pretty easy shot right there. Should be putting range, 33 feet. So again, anything inside 60, and there we go. So pretty solid round. I don't know if I really could have done much better than maybe ace running a couple of the sunshine holes. So 11 under, I was pretty happy with that. I think the leaders going into this were, so let's see what they got. So Turd shot 11-11. I think Drano shot a 10 and a 12. So I'm right there where I should be. So rolling in right into round 3. So we're back at windswept with the wind of 4. And I would sometimes throw a skip disc, but I like the light glide just because wherever it hits, like right there, if my skip disc would have landed, it would have landed shorter and it probably would have skipped way left. So I've been kind of transitioning over, as long as it's not a headwind. If it's a headwind, I might throw the skip disc. But again, to get a putting range eagle, I love it. Okay, and then hole 2 is the Mando hole, and I love the musket for this one. Just throw it way up. You will notice I throw a lot of high stall shots. So I threw the high stall shot river on the Mando hole on Lakeside. I threw one way up there with the musket there. On that harrowing par 5, I threw a really high ballista shot. It's a nice way to control distance. And then we shift over to hole 3, which is hole 1 of windswept, and that's about as much of a gimme as you can get. And again, I don't need to be under the basket, so just give me something in that range, and I don't think I'm going to miss a 30-foot putt with no obstructions ever. Then we shift over to Sunshine, which, again, I don't like seeing in a Pro Tour. So I was able to sneak the eagle there. Because then so now I know there's going to be 2 par 3s coming up. And I feel like I have to ace one or both of them just to keep up. Although it's not as bad as multiplayer, but you do feel a little bit more pressure nowadays because so many people are acing those. But you got to get the eagle. And now if I can get maybe an ace, and even if I birdie, it's not bad. So seeing hole 1... and I throw the forehand fuse, and right here I'm kind of thinking about where I want to aim. I normally aim to the right, but that wind of 2 is probably going to push it back. So I'm thinking probably almost dead center on the hole, maybe a little left here. And so when I threw it up, I thought it might be a little short, but then I realized it was dead on. So that one took a little time to dial the aim in, but I was able to get the ace. And so now I don't even care what happens on this hole. I got the eagle and I got one of the aces. So an ace here on hole 6 would just be a bonus. But we're definitely going to run it with the fuse. And right there, I knew it was not going to go. It was close, but just a little off the basket. And even there, even hitting metal, that's actually worst case scenario because it kind of kicks you further. But I could kind of tell that it was just a little too far to the right. But I will take eagle, ace, birdie any day on Sunshine. All right, albatross hole, and luckily it's not a headwind, it's a wind of 1. So, and I kind of overcompensate a little bit just to be safe. I probably didn't need to put that much hyzer on it, but I wanted to make sure, like, you can miss left, you can't miss right. And so that was perfect, because even if you miss left, you're 100 feet out to the left. If you miss right, you're in the water. So you most definitely don't want to turn it over. 60-foot putt. So you guys see here, it's not just lip service. I'm not just talking about putting. Like, this is a Pro Tour round from 60 feet into a headwind, and I still putted it. So, all right, island hopper in a wind of 2. I've got some decisions to make. So the tee shot is always going to be the same, just my fuse. And here I really debated. I'm like, do I go for it? Do I not go for it? And I was really just going to lay the fuse up to the right here and take my birdie, but it was a struggle here, but I decided to kind of go for it and see what happens. And right about there, I felt pretty good about it as long as it got up over the edge, and it did. So I was very happy with that. So that was really risky, but honestly, if you want to get first place in these tournaments, you got to go for this stuff. Like right there, if I lay up for birdie, we'll talk about this later in this video, but that's one of those where you just, if you're not going to go for it, like if it's a headwind, okay, I get it. But sometimes you just got to go for it. So now this round, if I can just get birdie, get out of here, but I know wind of 3 is kind of tricky, but all I want to do is get my birdie, get out of here, and I've got a pretty solid round going. I've got the albatross, I've got the eagle, and when I let go, I thought it had an ace chance, and I skipped over the top. My heart sunk because I had a shot at 15 under if I birdied that one, and I screwed it up. And so even with the wind of 3, I got a little tentative with my approach here because I didn't want to skip OB, and so I chained out. And so that fantastic round was spoiled by a crappy skip off the top, but I mean, that's my own fault. Wind of 3. So I still got a 13 under, which was pretty good, and that is actually the same score that the leader got, but I mean, to think what could have happened if I didn't even need to ace it, but just get the birdie out of it. Or heck, even a par would have been 1 stroke better. So now, as of right now, through 3 rounds, I'm tied with Drano and Turd Sandwich. So coming in, Sunshine, I'm hoping, again, if it's 2 par 3s, I want to ace at least one of these guys to kind of put me on the right track. And hitting that first ace, I was like, yes, I've got this. Because I think Turd Sandwich shot a 13 under, maybe, or a 12. So I know I've got to shoot a hot round. And so I've got the ace here, and I'm hoping to either get one more ace, or if the par 5 gets in here, I get an eagle. And as soon as I let that one go, felt perfect. I mean, you cannot ask for anything more. Tied for the lead, round 4, starting off ace, ace. I was thrilled. And now right here, I'm thinking, man, if I can start with the turkey, triple aces, I got this. I've got this tournament won. And so when I let go, I thought it was close. It just wasn't quite where I needed to be. And so I'm right around that tree. I don't like being around those branches. So I did straddle out to the right to kind of take those out. But still, even though I missed hole 3, starting off ace, ace is almost a perfect start. So now shifting over to cave with a wind of 3. Feel pretty good about this one. Put it on a little hyzer. And right about here, I thought I screwed it up. I really thought I screwed it up. And that was kind of a fortunate kick, but I know that left wall is pretty forgiving because it kind of angles towards the basket, but that could have been disaster. That would have sucked to go ace, ace, birdie, and then throw that one into the wall and possibly roll down in the water. All right, hole 5 is one of the easier holes on this course on Grizzly, and I screwed it up. I threw my river too far to the left, and I messed it up. Luckily, the tree branches aren't going to block me 58 feet, but that was not a good shot. And I won't say I was feeling nerves, but on that putt, I did feel it a little bit because I didn't want to ruin a good round on what I consider a very easy hole. Now, this is a very hard shot. So I'm going to do a turnover light glide, but with a wind of 3, you really got to watch because it's easy to flip over too much. So I planed it a little tentatively and got a very fortunate skip off the top. But that's one, if you've got a wind of 3 like that, it is super easy to flip it way over into the water. And so if I was going to miss, I was going to miss left. I was not going to miss in the water. So now I think that's 3 eagles. I'm feeling really, really good because now I know it's Oak Hill, which I'm guaranteed to have at least one par 4, probably 2. So get the birdie on that one. And now I know all I need to do is eagle either one of these 2 holes, and I'm tied for the lead. And so this one, I made the adjustment. So last time, I think this was round 1 or round 2, I flipped it. I didn't flip it over enough, and so it ended up way left, and I didn't get the eagle. Here, that is perfect. I want to get the skip up, and I'm in putt range, hopefully, which I am 56. So you guys have seen multiple putts in the 50, 60-foot range. And so I got it. And so right now, I know if I birdie the last hole, I'm set. I'm tied for the lead. And so I get a wind of 2, which is really favorable wind. Normally, I would throw my skip ballista out here to the right, but I know all I need is a birdie. And so I'm really thinking right here, where do I want to throw it? Because if I throw it to the right and I skip OB and I get a par, I now lost, and I'm not going to win. So I decided to go ahead and go with a little safer route, throw it out to the left and hope to get a good skip out of it. But even if I mess this one up and I birdie it, I'm still tied with Turd Sandwich up top, but I get a really, really good skip. And so now this is it. A 91-foot throw-in for the win, and bam. And so even playing it safer, I was able to get it, so I was thrilled, and that was a fantastic round. Fortunate to start off with the 2 aces, but what can I say? So having taken a few weeks off, it was nice to kind of get back into the Pro Tour groove, and you'll see there I have the win by 1 stroke, but those are really good rounds. But obviously those aces, I think I had 4 aces across the whole tournament, so extremely happy with that one. Didn't quite reach 50, and I'm just trying to imagine what would have happened if I didn't skip that river shot off the basket on the box hole. But it is what it is, and I was still able to hold on, so hopefully nobody swoops in there at the last minute and drops a 50 under and beats me. But so hopefully you enjoyed getting in my head a little bit and listening to some of the decisions I make and what it's like to go through a Pro Tour round, all 4 rounds. So before I end, I kind of want to go back to round 2 or 3 when I had the island hopper shot. So this is a good example where if I don't go for that island hopper and I just take the birdie, I'm still tied for first, but it's those little differences. Like, do you have the ability and the balls to go for those shots when you need to? And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. You know, daily tournaments, we kind of get in the groove of just trying every shot and running every shot. Here, you really got to think about which ones you run and which ones you don't, because it could be the difference between first place or dropping me down to, 5th, 6th, 8th, who knows. So again, hopefully you enjoyed the more detailed, longer video, and I will be back with some new content later on.